Hi there once again. Welcome back to the Tech Choice Bootcamp, the UI UX design track. And this is module 3 and we'll be talking about empathy interviews. First off, let's get ourselves acquainted with what empathy interviews are. As you know, empathy is the practice of seeking to understand and make connections with all types of people. Interviewing for empathy means prompting and listening to a person's story in order to get to know their thoughts, feelings, motivations on a particular subject. Empathy interviews are important in understanding a person's behavior and choices so that you can learn about their needs and wants and design to incorporate them. There are usually three roles in an interview: the interviewer who is asking the question, the interviewee who answers them, and the note taker who happens to write down everything. The note taker ensures the interviewer can have their full attention on the interviewee. However, if there is no note taker, then the interviewer can either record the interview or take notes themselves. The use of an empathy interview is to perform user research and also to understand people's experience as they use a thing, a space, or a process. The empathy interview is an approach to finding out as much as possible about a person's experience as a user of a space, a process, an objective, or an environment. We want to understand the choices that people make and why they make them. The flow of an empathy interview should feel less like an interview and more like an open conversation with a friend. Unlike a typical interview, preparing a long list of questions and topics to help drive the conversation won't be as useful as you think. With empathy interviews, the goal is to understand the users by having an open conversation, not to confirm an idea or insight. So in this particular module, I'll be giving you good empathy tips and I will explain what empathy mapping is. Tips for the empathy interview. You have to let your interviewees know what to expect. You have to let them know whether you will be taking notes or not, and also whether you will be recording their conversation. And also, please be humble. Don't assume you know the users and do not anticipate their answers. Rather, you approach the interview from a learner's perspective and really ask and seek to know the user. Good empathy interviewers do not assume they don't know. They know that they don't know. The next interview tip is to ask open-ended questions. First off, you have to ask questions that will encourage a story from the interviewee rather than a yes or no answers, which are yes or no question, which are the closed-ended questions. Then also you have to avoid leading questions or questions that will use language that will influence the interviewee to answer in a certain way. So I'll give you two examples. We have two examples of a question. We have, what makes you angry about taking the bus to work, and how do you feel about taking the bus to work? The first question leads the user towards one type of emotion, which is anger. And also, by asking the second question, we might find users who find the journey to work amusing. The next tip is to probe, ask why. For example, if a person says, I really love fish, you can ask why. Probe the user, ask them why they said what they said or did what they did. As long as they are comfortable, please probe. Asking why may make the user pause to think about their motivations or intentions. Then please don't forget to make your interviewee as comfortable as possible. This can be anything from checking in regularly throughout the interview to choosing a cozy environment. Always ask permission before doing things that might invade their privacy, such as taking videos or recordings or asking personal questions. In addition, make sure to introduce yourself and the project at the start of the interview so your interviewee is aware of what is going on. Another tip is to encourage story, like I said. A way to encourage story is starting a question with tell me about a time when. Encouraging the user to tell you stories could offer an indirect way to probe them further. Stories will uncover feelings and actions in a way probing might not. Stories will also allow the user to be the center of attraction without even knowing it. Then you observe you, which questions or answers makes them uncomfortable, excited, relaxed, or agitated. When they want to talk, allow them. Set aside your agenda. Then please pay attention to their body language. Are they relaxed or uptight? Then their voice modulations. Are there points where they sound excited? Or are there points where they sound very sad? Or are there points where they sound subtly happy? So please, you have to just take notes of this during your interview. Then we move on to an empathy map. An empathy map is a visualization tool that helps designers to articulate their understanding of the user. The empathy map is a good tool for unpacking our user interviews. An empathy map is a simple, easy to digest visual that captures knowledge about the user's behaviors and attitudes. An empathy mapping session is a great exercise for groups to get inside the head of users. Empathy maps are most useful at the beginning of the design process, that is after user research but before requirements and ideation. Alright, an empathy map is a collaborative visualization used to articulate what we know about a particular type of user. It externalizes knowledge about the users in order to first create a shared understanding of users' needs and aid in decision making. Then we have four columns in the empathy map. Sorry, four sections. We have four sections in the empathy map, which is the say section, the think section, does section, and the feel section. We will look into these sections as we go on in the video. The first section, which is the say section or say quadrant, this contains what the user says out loud in an interview or some other usability study. There are direct quotes from the interviews. During the interviews, note the unspoken cues and the user's body language. Watch out for uncomfortable pauses or a change in their voice. For example, the pitch. And if possible, and the user is comfortable with you doing so, try to dig a little deeper. Try not to summarize what the user says. The entire quote might help you to better understand the user much later in the process. Pay attention to what the user says during the interview. Example of what the user might say in an interview is, I want something reliable. Then the next quadrant, which is the think quadrant, this captures what the user is thinking throughout the experience. Ask yourself, what occupies the user's thoughts? What matters to the user? It is possible to have same content in both says and thinks. However, pay special attention to what users think but may not be willing to vocalize. Try to understand why they are reluctant to share. Are they unsure, self-conscious? polite, or afraid to tell others something. We arrive at what to put in the think column in two ways. We can ask the user what they are thinking when something happened, or we can infer their thoughts based on our understanding of the interview. Probe a little to understand what the user might be thinking during the interview. The next one is the feel quadrant. It's also similar to the think column. We can note our observation during the interview in the feel column. Was the user agitated, confused, happy, or upset? Or we can act we can ask them how a particular event or process they described during the interview make them feel. Look out for their aspiration, their hopes and dreams. Please observe the user closely during the interview. Stories might uncover hidden feelings. Probe where necessary and where possible. The feels quadrant is the user's emotional state, often represented as an adjective plus a short sentence or for context. Ask yourself what worries the users? What does the user get excited about? How does the user feel about a particular experience? The user might be impatient or the user might be confused or worried about a particular event. Then in the do column, we note the actions the user takes. These actions could be what the user said they did or our observation during the interview process. Observe the user closely during the interview. What are they doing? What did they say they did? The, the do quadrant encloses the actions the user takes. From the research, what does the user physically do? How does the user go about doing it? Our empathy map will help us first love understand the user personas, their attitudes and behaviors, identify key insights, discover gaps in our knowledge of the user. The first step to having a good empathy map is to conduct a good empathy interview. You are going to be listening to two interviews, a good and a bad one. Please take notes and see what can be learned from it.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Annie. What's your name?
Good evening. My name is Tomi.
Tommy, what's your full name? Like, is it just Tommy?
Tomi Londa Oleojaye.
You would have said that since now. Okay. So we're building something, Sha, and I'm just going to ask you a few questions. I need you to answer like quickly and give me all the data I need so I can move on with my life, basically. First of all, have you ever sold clothes?
Sorry, will you be recording this?
Don't worry about that. Just
I need to know if you're recording because you're supposed to ask me if you're supposed to let me know if you're recording this.
So we'll be recording, yeah.
Okay.
But it's really not that deep. Like it's a simple interview. We're just going to be done with this and we'll get you out of the way. Yeah. Okay. So I asked you a question. Have you ever sold clothes?
No, I've never sold clothes before.
Why?
I am not a trader.
No, now, but you see, like you have clothes that you've worn, and you've outgrown them.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what if you had a baby now, and then your baby outgrew the clothes? Your babies grow very fast. Your baby outgrew the clothes. You won't sell them.
No, I would not.
Why?
I have people around me.
What do you do with the clothes? You throw them away?
No, I have people around me that have children growing up. I give it to them, or I will keep it to take it to the mother's baby's home or something.
Yeah, but you can like make quick cash. Like if you sell the clothes, you make money sharply.
I don't see reason to.
Money. Or you're too proud to sell clothes?
I don't see reason to sell my baby's used clothes. Sorry.
Why you think you're picking up people that are selling their clothes? Answer now.
I'm sorry. Is this an interview or a? I don't understand.
You know what? It's fine. We're done. Bye bye.
In the first demo, our interviewer was very rude and disrespectful. He didn't make the customer feel welcome or comfortable, and he didn't do a good job explaining what the interview was about. He also didn't allow the customer finish some of her statements and sentences, and in all, it was a very bad interview. There's no way you are getting useful insights from that kind of interview.
Hello, good evening. My name is Annie. Can I know your name, please?
Good evening. My name is Tomilola.
Hi, Tomilola.
Hi.
I'm going to be asking you a few questions. The company I work for is trying to develop a new product, and we just need some info from our would-be consumers, potential consumers, which in that case would be you. I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to be taking notes. It's going to be recorded, but don't worry, it's not going on social media. It's not going on the internet. It's just for research purposes. I hope that's something you're cool with. Like you
Yeah, that's fine.
With it.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. Tommy, are you married?
Yes, I am.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have children?
Yes, I have one.
One child. A boy or a girl?
A girl.
How old is she?
She's 2.
2 years old. Amazing.
Yeah.
The solution we're building is targeted at mothers and children. And for that, I'd like to know if you've ever... First off, do you always buy new clothes for your baby, or do you buy fairly used clothes?
I never actually buy clothes for my baby.
You don't? What?
I don't. My baby gets clothes from my cousins that already have kids that are grown. But these clothes are always next to new. Like they're always still so good and all. So they always just send clothes to her. Yes. So I never really have to buy. But I always buy shoes for her because she outgrows her shoes very easily. So those are the ones I always buy for her.
Okay.
I don't buy fairly used for her. I buy brand new ones.
Okay, sorry if it seems like I'm distracted from... I'm taking notes of what you're saying on my phone.
That's fine.
But I'm listening to you the whole time. You say you don't buy clothes because you get clothes from, like, your cousins bring clothes in for your baby and things like that. When your baby outgrows these clothes, what do you do with them? Do you sell them?
No, I don't. I give it to my close family and friends that have female children that are just growing up to. But I don't give everything out actually. I give the prettiest ones out. The ones that are not so pretty, I keep them because I need. It's not like this people I give. It's not like they can't really afford them. You understand? I also want to give it to somebody, and I think I'm gonna prefer giving the ones that are not so pretty to the motherless children. Anyway, so I'm actually keeping them for the faithful day. I would be able to go to a motherless baby home to give them. And the reason why I am not keeping very pretty ones for them is because I don't really trust these people that are in charge of these children at the motherless baby home. From what I've heard so far, they keep the best of the things people bring for these children, and they give the children the rest. That's what I heard. So I don't think I would like it if anybody does that. So I think I would like to give somebody I know that okay, I'm giving you this thing. I know it's expensive and it's very pretty. I like it, but my baby has outgrown it, so I'm giving it to you. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Fantastic. So your main reason for not selling the clothes is because you have people to give.
Yes.
And then you'd rather give them to people you know, but then the ones that aren't so pretty, you give them to the motherless babies.
Yes.
Yeah. But then, even in the motherless baby setup, you say you don't trust that they'll give these clothes to the kids themselves. Let's stay on that for a bit. You mentioned trust. Now, does trust have anything to do with your giving these clothes to the people you know? Like you said, the pretty ones now, that the good looking clothes, you give them to the people you know. Is that because of trust?
I would say that since they are family, actually. Yes. So.
Okay. Okay. That's good. So trust is a big part of your parting ways with your baby's clothes. Will you also say that distrust is a reason why you're not comfortable with the idea of selling babies' used clothes?
Well, no, I wouldn't say so. I just don't sell because I don't see the need to. Actually, not for any trust issue. I really don't see the need to.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So outside yourself now, the general idea of selling babies' clothes or selling babies' used clothes, how do you feel about that?
I have nothing against it, actually. I have nothing against it. And if I believe if I was in a situation where I have good clothes that my child already had, like that my child has already outgrown, that I can sell for good money. If I really really need the money, then I would. I don't see anything against selling clothes my clothes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tommy. One more question. Besides clothes generally, do you sell any used items?
No.
Any of your things you've used? Do you generally sell stuff?
No, but I have my baby's sterilizer. Someone sent it to me, and I use it for just a month. But it's still it's an electric sterilizer, and it's quite expensive, so it's not my money. But I could agree this to someone else, but I think I would like to sell it to get some
Why
kind of
would you
money.
like to sell it?
I don't know. I think it was for 30,000 naira then, but I didn't really use it. So I might still give somebody without collecting money or something. But I don't think I want to give it out like that.
If you're going to sell anything, that's what you would sell.
Yes, I would sell that.
Okay. Is there an avenue you thought of selling it through?
No, I think I would just contact those I know have newborn babies that would really, really need sterilizer. And
Okay.
Yes, that was cool.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Tony. You've been very helpful. Take care.
Yeah, bye.
The second interviewer was welcoming and polite. He got the customer comfortable by letting her know he will be recording and taking notes. He also stated the major reason for the interview. Sounding interested in the details a customer gives about something that happened in their personal life is also important. It makes them feel like you care about them as human beings and not just as subjects for your interviews. The interviewer gave ears to all the customer said and asked questions where necessary. Silence is a big tool during interviews. Being quiet creates a gap, and impulsively, the customer will speak more to try and fill that gap. By creating a relaxed atmosphere, we had an interview that was almost 3 times longer than the first one, with a lot more insights than that of the bad interview. Even with a customer who didn't seem to be a perfect fit for the product the company was building, we still got some useful insights around selling and reselling cultures of moms. Now you can put that into practice, and in subsequent videos, we'll be challenging ourselves with creating empathy interviews and working on making better interviews. So we've completed the module 3 of this course, and now you can conduct great empathy interviews See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.